Good afternoon. My name is Peggy Frazier. I'm co-chair with Dr. Manabu Takasawa of the University of Rhode Island's Music Department's IDEA Committee, Inclusion, Diversity, Equity, and Access. Today we are honored to welcome distinguished visiting artist Chris Newell, who will share his presentation, A Musical Tour of Native America. I will only give a brief introduction as Chris will be sharing his personal story throughout his presentation. Chris is a multi-award winning museum professional and a proud citizen of the Passamaquoddy tribe in Indian Township, Maine. He is the executive director and senior partner to the Wabanaki Nations for the Abe Museum in Bar Harbor, Maine. A longtime singer with the acclaimed Mystic River Singers in Connecticut, Chris has traveled the U.S. and Canada singing and participating in cultural celebrations, powwows, and live stage performances. Before I turn things over to Chris, I want to acknowledge the support we have received from the Dean's Office in the College of Arts and Sciences, and that this event is funded by the Office of the Provost 2020-2021 Distinguished Visiting Artist Program. Today, Chris will give a 40 to 45 minute presentation, and then we'll have a question and answer period. So please feel free to put your comments and questions in the chat, and we'll be sure that Chris receives these. Now, please join me in welcoming Chris Newell.
Thank you so much, Peggy, and thank you to the URI community and everybody for the invitation to be here today. I love doing this particular presentation. This is something I originally started for a blues festival, if you can believe it. There's actually a history of the creation of the blues and the native communities, the mixing that was going on during that time. So there's a lot to explore, when it comes to what we consider as American music and the native music styles that existed prior. And the mixing that happened, and then the genres that came out of it. So there's lots to learn, about this. I call this program a Native American musical tour, but it's really just about my own personal life experiences. I have not been to every tribe. I have not learned every tribe's musical ways. There's no way in the world that I could give you the complexity and the plurality of 1,000+ different cultures in an hour-long presentation. And that's one of the things I like to be clear about in my education is that, these terms, Native American, American Indian, are all generalized terms that are actually developed in Europe. The idea of creating a singularized term to, put all of these cultures under that one umbrella term. And when we speak in English, we tend to think of Native peoples under those umbrella terms and tend to think of, as one thing applies, it applies across the board. And that's simply not the case. So what I hope you get from my presentation is that I have been exposed to, different Native musics throughout my life. I've learned a few things, and I want to, really, give you a sense of that complexity and that plurality. Update language, as people that work in, the field of, was probably a lot of world music or ethnomusicology and future teachers of music just in general. The world of Native music is really just music. And there's things like scales and other things apply. The way America has unfortunately studied Native music, beginning back with Leonard Baker's dissertation of the music of the North American Indians, where he was literally studying just one tribe, Seneca tribe, but using that generalized terminology. A lot of what he was writing and the way Native musics were being studied, was put through that framework. And so we, tendency in America not to study Native musics as music, rather that we look at it through an ethnomusicology lens. And that's one of the things I try to change for people is, updated, language and things of that sort. So hopefully I'll be remembering to give you some of those little clues along the way. I am a Passamaquoddy. I come from Madocnigook, which is in the English language is Indian Township. We are located in eastern Maine. Our homelands are the surrounding area around Scudig, otherwise known as the St. Croix River, which is currently the border between the United States and Canada. We lived, of course, on both sides, historically, but the Canadian government is just now recognizing the Passamaquoddies on the Canadian side, but luckily our communities on the American side have stayed intact. I'm a second generation educator. My father got his master's in education from Harvard University way back in 1971 and has spent 50 years of his life working in the field of education and really focusing on language preservation and also preservation of our music. And if you ever want to really get a good study of Passamaquoddy music traditions, just Passamaquoddy music traditions, there's a great video on the Library of Congress, an hour-long video of my father and another elder, Blanche Saka Basin, literally icons of the traditional music of our communities and where I learned most of my lessons from, and that's part of the archive of the Library of Congress these days. Some of the messages I like to get out is, I'm not going to be performing any music that is considered sacred or ceremonial. This is not the place for something of that sort. But Native musics, and in communities have different roles, and this musics that are creative to dance to celebrate. We sing songs for birthdays. There's a lot of different ways that we use music socially. And what I'm going to be singing for you today is, pieces of songs, because I'm trying to give you a good variety here, that are come from my personal experience as I've traveled throughout Indian country. And for me in my personal journey, beginning working with traditional Native music begins with my own tribe, the Passamaquoddy people. The Passamaquoddy people were located, as I said, in eastern Maine. We have isolated communities, and as a result, we're one of an East Coast tribe where our music tradition and our language has survived rather well. Even through all of the effects of colonization. And, so the first song I'm going to sing for you really comes off of a tradition that, began amongst the tribes in our region. And we're known collectively, the Penobscot, Passamaquoddy, Micmac, Maliseet, Abenaki, and historically many, many others as the Wabanaki peoples. And that's an anglicized version of a term that would translate to the people of the dawn. We are the people that encompass this far northeastern region. It's the first place in the country that sees sunlight. And part of our cosmology is that as Wabanaki peoples, it's our job to sing the sunrise up. So music is actually built into our culture. And the way I was taught about it is that music is actually thought of as a magical power, these are all adults in the room. But when I talk to kids about this, I try to make sure that they understand what I'm talking about, that I'm not talking about Harry Potter waving a wand and changing something. I'm talking about something that everybody that works with music already understands. The way that a piece of music, if it's just your jam, and, it just makes you get up and dance and it gives you that energy, that transference of energy to you. That's the magic that we're talking about. In a beautiful moment when a piece of music brings a tear to your eye and raises those emotions, that's the magic that we're talking about there. So in Passamaquoddy culture, we recognize it as a magic power, but it really transcends something that we all understand about the power of music just in general, and what attracts us to it all, and it's really a universal language in a lot of ways. So in historical times, there was the creation of a Confederacy of Tribes. The Wabanaki tribes confederated as a way to keep peace amongst one another, to separate territories, to keep trade, ongoing. And when we did so, we created protocols for how we interacted with one another, and some of those involve music. So a great example, in the way we ran our communities is, very much about that idea of peacekeeping and longevity. So if a Passamaquoddy chief died, a mourning wampum, a signal was sent, a message was sent to the other Wabanaki chiefs throughout the territory. And they were invited to come to the Passamaquoddy community because it was going to be their chiefs, the other Wabanaki chiefs, that are going to choose the new Passamaquoddy chief after a year of mourning. And so when these celebrations would occur, there was a proper greeting protocol that went along with it. And so arriving chiefs and their people would arrive in Passamaquoddy territory, and before they actually would come out of their canoes and from the water and onto the land, they would have to go through this formal welcoming. And so the host community would welcome them with words, and they would also welcome them with music. And so they would hold their canoes, and the visiting chiefs and their people would stand in the water, and they would sing welcome songs. We have more than one version, and I'll get into some of the technicalities after I sing this for you, but I just want to sing it for you, to give you a sense of what woodland music sounds like. Woodland music, typically the tribes in this region, we use our chest voice. We don't use the higher voice that you hear with plains and powwow drum styles, and the rhythm is really matches a lot to the Western rhythm, where the downbeat is right where you snap your fingers and things of that sort. And this one is not a song meant to be danced to, so it's meant to be sung regally as a way of welcoming, and I'll be talking a little bit more about it after I perform for you here. So here we go. This is one version of a Passamaquoddy welcome song. All right, so let's talk about that song a little bit. One of the things I like to do is update language once again. And so oftentimes when I hear ethnomusicologists, especially talking, or even non-native music just in general, talking about a song like that, they may use the word chant. And I want to coach you away from using that word, when describing our musics, because chant is actually, something that actually implies something non-musical, right? We can have chants in a protest that have no music, whatsoever. And the song I was just singing for you, it has a scale. It has, there's vocalizations and all of those types of things that are really just music. And so this is a song I was singing for you, even though it's somewhat strophic in that you heard it repeat twice. There's a cycle that repeated twice. It is a song in the purest sense of that word. And, but you did hear me repeat a word in there, guanude, several times over. And that's our language changes over time. Our cultures have always been dynamic. And that word is actually so old, we don't have a really good translation for it. And this happens with Passamaquoddy translating into English sometimes, is that we can't make a one-to-one translation of something. And so that word does not mean welcome. I'm not saying welcome, welcome, welcome. But what it does is it conveys the sense of welcoming as to the person that you are welcome here. And that's the effect of the word. So once again, not a good translation for it, but it gives you a sense of what the word is about. And then another thing I want to introduce to you is, of course, the use of vocables. So, people that study music understand what vocables are. People that don't study music, I just want to give you a quick understanding. It occurs in American music. A very familiar song is Deck the Halls. And when we get to the part where we sing fa la 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 la, those are vocables. So essentially they are sung lyrics that don't mean anything. And in the second half of the verse of that song, you hear me singing a portion where I'm saying, oh, oh, ya, ne, oh, oh, ya, ne, oh, oh, ya, ne. That is an example of using vocables to carry a melody. And the way Passamaquoddy people do it is different than the way, say, Dakota people do it, or people, tribes from Oklahoma, or even tribes from the Southwest and tribes in Canada. But vocables is actually something that, as you get into the complexity of Native music, you'll find are used quite a bit. And that's one of the common threads that you will find amongst different Native musics is the use of vocables, although they change from tribe to tribe to tribe, and to be, aware of that. But it's not like we don't create, songs with words or songs that tell stories. In fact, music traditionally was a way of remembering for our people. We could remember journeys of 1,000 miles with extreme detail through songs that would take as long as a day to be able to recite. And it would point out to where all the camping and where all of the portage sites were, and where all of the beautiful sites, the beautiful views are and the vistas, and whose territory you're in as you're traveling through, and what was going on in your journey, And so that was something that unfortunately the French Catholics back in the 18th century discouraged. We still maintain our oral story tradition, but that use of music as a memory function to keep our oral history alive was very much intact, for thousands of years. And if you think about it, even in America, all of us learn alphabetical order through the ABC song. We all use music as a way to remember things. It's really, once again, a universal thing. So in the ceremony of welcoming, as I get back to what I was just talking about, they would be formally welcomed. Like, once again, the speeches is welcoming, but also with music. And after that song is sung, the visiting chiefs and their people come onto the land. And there's, different handshakes and embraces. And then a celebration begins. Traditionally, we have something in our tradition called a snake dance. And nowadays, the way we use it is actually the way to finish the way we have our traditional dances. But originally, it was a gathering dance. And so what would happen is the host chief would lead and sing, and the host chief leading the visiting chief and his people up to the village, and they would snake their way through the village as they danced to gather together to, get people to add to the snake, to bring them forward for a celebration and a feast. And so the next song that would come about, of course, would be a dance song. This is what would happen next. And so I just wanted to give you that first song, once again, is not a danceable beat, but this one is. And I wanted to give you a version of a woodland style, especially from the Wabanaki people's a dance song. One new dag, one new dag, one new dag, one new dag. One new dag, one new dag, one new dag, one new dag. One new dag, 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 one new dag. One new dag, one new dag, one new dag, one new dag. One new dag, one new dag, one new dag, one new dag. One new dag, 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 one new dag. Oh. Now, in Passamaquoddy music tradition, that's that word that you hear me say, tahu, that's, once again, we don't have a good translation for that. It kind of just means that it's finished, but that's what we say at the end of a song. And I want to make sure that I bring that out, because as we travel to other music traditions, the way they end songs and signal to the dancers that the song has ended, that is differently. In Passamaquoddy tradition, we do it with a vocal command. We yell out tahu, and that's where that's coming from. And so I just wanted to, point that out to you as well. So in the interest of time, I'm going to be moving now through my musical tour here. And one of the singers with the Mystic River Singers, very, very good friend of mine, is a Seneca singer, traditional singer named Sheldon Sundown. And it was a long time ago that I started to learn through him about Iroquois social dances. So they have ceremonial longhouse dances, but they also have a set of dances that are social dances, that are get together and have a good time dances. And what I like to do also with this particular portion is to show the dynamic nature of native traditional music, that we do not just stick with, styles of music that existed only 500 years ago, like the welcome dance that I was just singing for you. But we also create new compositions at all times. And our dance and music traditions change as the world changes. These are arts, and we reflect the world as we see around them. Now, in the social dances, there's a men's dance, an older style dance that they would call the men's war dance. And that has a particular style to it. It was a men's only dance. The idea of it back in the days of war, it was really a remnant back to those days, was the dancers were using the particular moves to call upon the elements of nature and other things to gather power and bravery to get themselves prepared for battle. They still perform these dances, the men do, as part of the social dances. But what ended up happening is the Iroquois people, Haudenosaunee people, the people of the Longhouse, the Six Nations, the Mohawk, the Oneida, the Onondaga, the Cayuga, Tuscarora, and Seneca, they composed the Iroquois Confederacy, as otherwise known as the people of the Longhouse, the Haudenosaunee, and they share a music tradition amongst themselves. And what happened is, they started to be asked to perform social dances out into the public. And this began, the want of the younger crowd to have something a little bit more, faster, more jazzed up, so that they could really show off their dance moves, because a lot of them were really talented and they really wanted a way to do that. Something got born out of that, which was the smoke dance. And that's what I'm going to be singing for you. 2 songs back to back here. They're all with vocables here. One of them is in the style of the old style war dance. And then I'm going to show you the evolution, which really took off, began, 70s or so, maybe as far back as the 60s, but it began to take off in the public really in the 90s. And even in Northeastern powwows, you will see smoke dance specials. And smoke dance is danced by the men and the women. It's a faster beat. It has skips in the beat, things of that sort. The dancers have to know the music and have to be able to respond to the music, and that's the things that they're judged on. So it's very competitive, very exciting to watch. And so this is from the Haudenosaunee tradition and not my tradition. So I would always encourage you to look up Seneca singers, look up Mohawk singers. You will find that even amongst their tribes, they sing the same songs slightly differently amongst their communities. And I cannot get totally the vocalizations. I do the best I can. But you're really going to get that authenticity when you hear it from the community members themselves here. But I just wanted to be able to give you a couple of samples to give you some basis to start from here. So this first one here is in the style of an old style war dance. So a couple of things to point out. Once again, the Haudenosaunee are woodland peoples, and along with other northeastern tribes, they do follow that same beat pattern with their dance songs, where you hear that downbeat and that offbeat, and you dance on the downbeat. You come in singing on that downbeat. This is going to change when we start to talk about powwow music. So I want to make sure that we, I point that out. And then the way that song ended, there's no verbal command to let the dancers know the song is ending. It's a change in the beat and a change in the way the song is vocalized. That yo, hey, yeah, that's and for that style of song, how they understand that that's the end of it. And they would be judged if they were dancing on their ability to stop on time. That's one of the big things that they look out for. So once again, the younger folks were looking, to, as they started to perform publicly, to really have something jazzed up. And this is where the smoke dance comes about. Now, I've heard two different stories about the name. So, oral tradition, that's how it goes sometimes. And so, once again, I would refer to my Haudenosaunee relatives to really be the keepers of these stories. But I was given two stories of the name, where it may have come from. And number one was the dancing so fast that within the longhouse, especially if it had a dirt floor, it would start to raise up the dust, essentially raise up the smoke in the air and cause that effect within the longhouse. But I've also heard another explanation to me that the power of the dancing actually helps to drive the air and push the smoke from the fire that's in the longhouse, and also the dust out through the smoke hole. And so one story or the other, I'm not going to say which one is right. It's really up to the Haudenosaunee people to tell you that. But just an example of how these traditions start to get born, and you'll see the smoke dance exhibited in modern day times often, with some really world-class dancers. The song, there's new compositions that have been made for smoke dance. What I'm going to sing for you is really the one song that was kind of the original smoke dance, and kind of where it all started from. And you'll notice there's some difference, a little bit faster beat, and a couple of skips in the beat that the dancers would have to be aware of here. So here we go, is smoke dance. Oh yeah, 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 oh yeah, oh yeah, 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 oh yeah, 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 oh yeah, oh yeah, 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 oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, 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 yeah. Oh yeah, 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 oh yeah, oh yeah, 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 yeah. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. All right. So once again, now I'm not the best smoke dancer singer in the world. You'll see that like these Haudenosaunee smoke dance singers, sometimes they really turn up the speed on them, so they can really fire off these songs at amazing speed with all the skips in the songs. It's really up to the dancers to respond to those with hops and jumps and to also stop on time. So now we're going to move once again, just in my personal experience. I became a powwow singer with the Mystic River Singers, more than 20 years ago now, and I've been blessed to have some really, really great teachers and travel across the U.S. and Canada and see powwow singing in various different forms. And once again, powwow singing is really, it originates more around the turn of the 20th century. It is a mix off of musical styles that are really generate from the Omaha peoples, and a lot of the modern day dances are reminiscent of those old days. And it was really spread outwardly by the Buffalo Bill Wild West shows. I mean, that was one of the only ways back in that time period. Before 1920, Native people weren't even allowed legally to leave their reservations. So one of the only ways to make income for a lot of Native people was to participate in a live show like the Buffalo Bill Wild West shows, which traveled all over the U.S., traveled all over the world. It allowed Native people to perform and get paid. And from that, this tradition started to develop, and intertribal marriages, and especially when the reservation system happened, tribes start to intermarry, and there's an intermingling of ways, and that's where the powwow tradition really, generates from. Is that Omaha, what they call Halushka tradition. So the powwow music that you see here, this is where I'm starting to talk about the large drum groups of men, all sitting around the drum. And if you're thinking of the northern style, that's the really high, pitched voice that you hear. And the southern style, the Oklahoma style, is that lower chest voice. But it's really about those, groups of men singing together with the women singing behind them. This, stems off of tribes that have a patrilineal tradition, hence the kind of different roles between the men and the women. Although in the northern tradition, different tribes have adopted powwow tradition. It's not traditional to Passamaquoddy people, but it's being adopted, by this generation, following mine, as part of, the things that we do in our own home community. So it's really what we call a pan-Indian movement, in that it starts in one place and it's being spread all across of, what we collectively call Indian country, which includes all the native communities across this country. Now with powwow music, there's some very, very big differences. Once again, there's two basic styles. There's the northern style and the southern style. Northern Plains style, Southern Plains style, because this is where these are really originating from. The Northern Plains styles, the characteristics are the voice is a very higher pitch. Now, ethnomusicologists have for years been getting it wrong in that they call that style of singing a falsetto. That is completely wrong. It's not a head voice. It's actually pushing your chest voice to its extreme limits to sharpen it as sharp as you can. And what that does is it adds volume, it adds a whole lot of things. And you got to remember that these singing styles were developed before microphones and all of that. So singing around a drum, the drum becomes an amplifier. As the drum vibrates and all the singers sing to the center, it creates that vibration. And from there, it amplifies back outward. So it was a natural way, to be able to make a large sound without having to use any sort of electric amplification and things of that sort. So that's really the sense of the vocalization for Northern style. And Southern style follows the same beat pattern in a lot of ways, but uses a lower chest voice. So I'm going to be singing 3 samples for you. Once again, I like to show the dynamic nature of songs. The way powwow songs were sung, 50, 60 years ago is different from the way that they're composed and sung now. So I'll start with the Northern style because Mystic River, we are a Northern style singing group. And the first one I'll sing for you is an older style song. And this really is reminiscent to, a lot of the older drum groups and the choppy style of rhythm and vocalization that was included in there. And it's not like we don't make songs that use this vocalization now. It's just that, singers have really taken this music and sometimes made it their own, and it's gone all different types of ways. And I'll show you a contemporary version of a newly created powwow song second, so you can kind of get, a difference, see that dynamic nature and that growth over time. So this first one, a couple of things to note also, the beat style that you'll see, it sounds like a straight beat. And instead of that accented beat, there are accented beats that do come in as part of the song. And powwow music, a big difference from it is that you don't come in on the beat. It's actually polyrhythmic. The drum beat is in triple and the voice is in duple. And so it creates a swinging rhythm, that's actually very hard to master, for the beginner. And for as a woodland singer, I had to unlearn all I knew about beat patterns and music in order to be able to adapt to this one. So, a couple of things to pay attention to as I'm singing. So this first one is an old style song. So once again, it's an older style, northern style song. So once again, there is no voice vocal command to let people know that the song is ending. In the northern style, they end with those 3 heartbeats. And that's the signal for the dancers that that's the end of the song. And normally, you know, if it was once again a powwow where they're having dance contests, they would go 4 times through. What you're seeing me doing is that was actually 2 times through. And so in the style of powwow singing, it starts at the high, and then the melody generally starts to work its way down to a low. There's a pause in the verse, and then it repeats itself at the high and drops down to the low, and then it recycles again with the lead, which is the highest part, the very beginning. And so there is a cyclical function to it, and what we call one of those complete cycles is a push-up, but that's the nomenclature that we use. Some people use verse, but that's, you know, because you're pushing it back up. And so the lead singer would come in, they would sing the lead, and if I had a group of singers with me, actually after I sing that lead, I stop and they repeat it all together, and we all come into the song together that way. So that's typically how it would go. And there's plenty of YouTube videos for you to check out, you know, to see that. Now, I want to just give you an example of, once again, a contemporary style song, because these styles of music change. I think you will see the obvious difference, especially in the vocalizations. Still using the high voice, still using that same beat pattern and everything else that was included in that older style song, but a very much a different vibe to the vocals and how they're being used. So that's a little bit of the northern style, and once again, I want to get into the southern style. And this is, you know, originates, you know, as the Indian Removal Act happened. A lot of tribes were moved to Oklahoma, and the powwow singing, you know, really more resembles the Omaha style of singing, which is really with the chest voice. And a couple of things, even though the beat pattern is the same, the vocalizations are definitely different. You know, using especially that part of your voice, and those downbeats that you heard me, you know, kind of putting in there at the second half of the northern style songs actually occur during the pause in the middle. And the way they end songs in a southern style song is, instead of with 3 beats, it's with 5 beats. And so those are some of the you know, the marking characteristics you can have, but once again, following the same beat pattern as the northern style, you know, powwow songs here. So here we go with southern style. hey yo, 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 check my time here. All right, so we are getting to question and answer portion, and I want to give time for people to ask questions, but I want to do one final song here. I got a couple of minutes. So there's a tradition that is something that you can see in different parts of North America here, and that is the round dance tradition. And different tribes do it in different ways, and in modern day times we use it as a social dance. And so for a lot of round dancing, it's literally holding hands in a circle and dancing to the beat, usually going to the left. It depends on the tribe and how they do their tradition. But for some tribes, it also began as a ceremonial dance. So there's the Southern style really develops off of the people from Taos Pueblo, and the round dance beat that you would hear them use on their drums would sound like this. And that downbeat, that's where you bounce as you down, make your as you dance in a circle. In the northeastern areas, the Haudenosaunee have their own round dance tradition. Once again, using that woodland style beat, and it would be that. But I really want to talk about the Cree tradition, which is Alberta, Saskatchewan, up in their tradition. This their tradition of round dance really has something to do with this hand drum, and so I've been doing everything with a drum today. Native musical instruments go way beyond drums, by the way. Shakers, using birch bark scrolls, even using school bells as a result of the residential school system, have all been incorporated. And even modern day times, in my community, the Quakers came through and gave us the guitar tradition. So we, create songs with guitar, and Passamaquoddy and things of that sort. So there's such a huge variety that I'm just no way I could show it to you all. But I just wanted to really quickly show you the style here because it's a very, very different style. The drum beat that's being used here is, in a way, one of the stories I was told about it is that it was really about the medicine men. The Cree have a belief that when somebody dies, they become one of the stars, and therefore when they look at the stars at nighttime, that is their relatives, that's their ancestors that are up there, and they pray to them and they look to them for guidance and power. And in the wintertime, they would have memorial dances for the ones that had gone on, and these were sometimes called tea dances. And the style of dance was really very reminiscent of the round dance, and which is kind of what it's changed to a lot these days. But still amongst the Cree, this is really ceremonial in a lot of ways. But the Cree round dance style has spread. This style of singing has spread to other tribes now, and you start to see the incorporation of English lyrics into the use of the song. Now the beat sounds very, very different. So you hear that vibration or that rubbing sound. That's literally the back of my hand. I'm using my fingernails to create a dampening to add to the beat. And through this style here, this is the Cree style round dance. And I just want to give you, once again, they're northern, so they use that high northern pitch voice. But I just want to give a really quick one-time round through of this style, and then we'll go to the questions. oh, hey, oh. Listen to the drum as it soars through the sky. Makes you wanna laugh, makes you cry. This is what we're giving. That's what makes us special. We are First Nation. Hey, oh, hey, oh, hey, oh. And with that, I will end my presentation, and I am more than willing to take any and all questions.
Chris, thank you so much. I see a question from Abby Mills. She has a question about the melodies you sang. Where do the pitches come from? Is it something that you memorize, or is it based off the drum you use today or other singers?
There's a mix of all of that going on. So when it comes to, there's no defined pitch. Most of the musics that I'm singing tend to be pentatonic. I will say that. But there are microtones and flourishings that, Western notation would never be able to pick up properly. So if you pick up a book from 1900 that has transcription of Omaha music, they are missing out on a lot of that. They're picking up the rhythm patterns pretty good, but they're missing out on the microtones and things of that sort. So the pitch is learned by ear. Literally you have to be around singers, and every drum group uses their own scales and pitches. It really depends regionally on the style. In northern Canada, they love to sing really, really, really high. It almost sounds like screaming to somebody for the first time, if it's the first time you're hearing it. Well, they're very, very talented vocalists, and they have complete control over their voices and what they're doing, and they can flourish the hell out of their voices. Awesome. Whereas, say the Nez Perce people sing with that northern style, but they use much more of a deeper, throatier style of vocalization and sound slightly different. The melodies, the pitches, it really is regional. Sometimes they are family. Some of the music traditions are passed down in family. So a great example would be the Cozad family, Kiowa family in Oklahoma. They have literally their own style, that all of their family members all practice, that other drum groups, don't copy, because that's literally their style.
I want to thank you so much for your answer. I want to announce that if anyone in the concert hall right now has a question they'd like to ask Chris, to please go to the back of the hall and tell Jess, and she will put it in the chat. Dr. Audrey Cardinay would like to know if you would speak about how members of the tribe learn drumming.
I would change the word to learning singing, because the drum is an instrument, and even though culturally it's built into respected as the living spirit in and of itself, in the music it's keeping time. And it's really about the singing. And that's one of the things that I always coach people in semantics. We're using English language words. I understand, it's just, English does not accurately describe, but amongst us as singers, we use the nomenclature singing rather than drumming typically, because, the drummer is, the guy in the band that's sitting behind the drum set, right? And they're not always singing, they're keeping the beat, but for me, it's about the singing and it's about the music. And how do we learn? It's you gotta be around it, I guess you gotta say. I had this discussion one time when I was learning about tube and throat singing with the Hunhurtu singers, and the same thing. They said that you can't learn it from necessarily a tape. You have to be live. You have to just listen to it, and then your brain starts to figure it out, how to make those vocalizations just based off of your own knowledge of your own voice. So the first step I always, as children, that I always mention that we all kind of have to go through is the ability to find our voice, which in other words means how do we control our voice and use it and sing it and be melodic and all of those types of things. And once we find our voice, then it's about, honing it into those rhythm patterns. And it's really, regionally it changes from region to region how that sounds.
Thank you. Um, from Ted Kutcher, your presentation was incredibly enlightening. My question is, do you know anything about the Narragansett Tribes musical style? Any?
Sure. Yeah. My wife's Mashantucket Pequot. I've lived around, the Narragansett community. Gone to August meeting several times, which is their traditional celebration that's been going on well over 300 years. They are northeastern woodland people like the Wabanaki peoples are. So they have very much within their own traditional music, the same beat pattern where that's one of the things I always point out is that, for people that know Western music or know just Western pop music, I guess you should say, or dance music, we're used to, where the downbeat is, where to snap our fingers. It's really easy in northeastern woodland beat patterns to be able to pick that up because it follows that pretty closely. And Narragansetts are pretty similar to that. They come in on the beat. Some of their songs have that accented beat. Some of them have the straight beat, but they're still singing, with that, duple, drum beat, duple meter in the voice as well. And they make a lot of songs that have to do with water, especially. Their culture is built around coast and fishing ways, and so a lot of the traditional music I hear about them from them. I've heard traditional dance songs as well, but I've heard a lot of the songs that include some of their language. Oftentimes, it is talking about the water and their connection to it.
Thank you. Chris, I have a question about your necklace.
Sure.
If you describe its meaning and.
Yeah, absolutely. So this was made by my wife. As I said, she's Mashantucket Pequot, but we've been coming up to bringing my family up to keep in touch with my Passamaquoddy relatives all this time. The beadwork that you see here is really her adaptation of the Passamaquoddy or the Wabanaki double curve motif. So if you see that double curve design on the very bottom there, that double curve motif with symmetry, and that's one of the distinctive styles of art that you see with tribes, in the northeastern region that identify as Wabanaki, people of the dawn. And then she incorporated, because of once again that notation of us as people of the dawn, the sunrise. In the background with eagle feathers. Eagles are a very big part of our belief system. We believe that in our creation, there's a set of spirits or creation spirits that sent down a female force that we call Sky Woman, that eventually was helped by the animals who brought pieces from the seafloor up to the top of a shell that was helping turtle shell that was the turtle was helping her. And that's how the island got created. So the eagle is what we consider our vessel. If we are respectful and pray and talk and treat eagles with respect, they will carry our stories of what we're doing up to that creator because they can fly that high. And so that they're the messenger for us. And so we give a lot of credence to eagles just because of that.
Thank you. That is laden with beautiful images. There's one question here. Are there any particular experiences you've had that has strongly influenced your musical development? This is from Ryan Savage.
Oh yeah, I love to tell this story. It's so interesting. I grew up once again in my community. My father's a traditional singer, but there was a long time in my life as a child where I just did not imagine myself as a singer. I did not find my voice yet, right? So I was learning. There was lots that I'd learned, but I wasn't singing actively. And honestly, the one thing that turned the corner for me is when I went to Dartmouth College. I took a world music class, and that's where I mentioned Hunhurtu a little while ago. That's where I was introduced to tube and throat singing. My professor was, oh my God, I can't remember his name right now. He's the guy who brought tube and throat singing basically to the Americas. Ted Levine. Yeah, Theodore Levine, and amazing teacher, by the way. And that was the first time I learned about overtone singing. He taught us, through the use of bagpipes and things like that. And when I heard them live in class, and then I also heard them live in concert, but it was really my experience in class. I didn't understand a word of any of the lyrics that they were singing in their music. They were singing a lot of traditional Tuvan, throat music songs. But I was overwhelmed, number one, by their vocal talent. Throat singers are, to me, just, the heavyweights of the vocal talent world, up there with opera singers. And the emotion of some of their songs, even though I didn't understand them, was being conveyed to me so just like viscerally, through the music itself. There's one song that I can call my favorite piece of music that they perform, which is called the Orphans Lament, which is really, something, a very, very sad song. They're in their culture, an orphan is considered bad luck. Someone that's lost their parents is bad luck. And so the Orphans Lament, the song is basically, the lament of an orphan, going from, family to family, searching for help and being turned away. And it's a heart-wrenching, heart-wrenching song. And I didn't understand any of it when they were singing in it. And yet I found myself just feeling that heart-wrenching ability. And I was like, you know what? If they can do that to me, and I don't even understand what they're singing, then you know what? All the stuff I've been seeing my father do my entire life, I could do that too. And that's really when I said to myself, I'm going to do this. There's a lot of historical knowledge I have, but I really want to sing. And that's really where I found a lot of healing for myself, especially as I ventured in the colonized world and realized how different it was from the upbringing that I had. Turning back to my culture through music was really, something that I was very extremely passionate about. And the moment that turned it was not something that happened in my own community. It was literally something that happened in a music class with some Asian singers. So yeah, it's great how that magical power works, right?
Chris, we want to thank you so much for being here and sharing your talents and bringing your cultural knowledge to us today. We are going to have to wrap it up now, but I thank you, and our students, I'm sure, will, and I will as well, continue to follow your work at your museum, and we wish you much success.
Thank you so much. And just a reminder to folks that, I've shown you like less than 1% of what's out there. There are so many talented people in Indian country in all genres that are out there, from traditional to, to the contemporary. And I, urge you to explore it all as music, right? Just music. Go through that lens and experience it that way, and you'll have a lot more fun with it.
Thank you so much.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye, Chris.